What's going on, everybody? Welcome back. It's Jordan here. Today we're going to continue working on the Ninjago mountain that I recently started constructing right over there below the Ninjago sets. Here's what we're dealing with at the beginning of our day here. We've got some blending work that needs to happen right there beside the tunnel entrance. And then of course we've got to add details to all of this bricky stuff that I started constructing, but that's where it's got to start, right? Also, I forgot to hang a right over here going this way, so it actually conceals the platform. I've got this train station that I don't know what to deal with. But I think I want to work on this section and actually try to get this to merge up or meet up with the raised platform there, and maybe start redeveloping some of this as well so we can turn the corner and developing it so it goes toward the actual Ninjago water reservoir. So the first thing I've got to do is haul these plates upstairs and get started. I'm going to start with topping the modules that we had already made there. Pretty easy to do. We had those Technic bricks expanded off, so I was able to attach some other Technic pieces, and then I was able to top that using some dark bluish gray plate, whether it be 4x, 6x, whatever I had in my inventory. I always like trying to use as many parts from the inventory as I possibly can, because why not, right? That's why I've worked so hard to accumulate and sort and store all of these amazing pieces that allow us to build incredible things like this. Now I want to top the longer section there as well, and you can see how nicely these modules split apart. But I'm using some of those support pieces with some 1x16 bricks, and they just span across, and then I'm able to attach the 16x16 plates and some of the smaller plates to the top of that. And that's just going to fill it in nicely so it matches up with the top surface of the Ninjago platform. And it really does just complete that whole area there and makes it look so much better. Next up, I've got to destroy that other module that I created. That's where it's turning around the corner there and heading toward the amusement park. So it turns out I actually made this too large. I have to decrease it by 16 studs or half a base plate. And of course, I'm going to merge all of that stuff together. And then I need to redo the foundation brickwork for this section of the mountain, so I actually destroy it all. I lay a layer of green, and then I put some colorful bricks in behind that to support those bricks, and then I start to mix in some of the dark bluish gray so it matches up with the feel that we have in the front sections there. And it starts to turn 90 degrees, so I'm staggering those bricks backward, and then it sort of turns that corner, trying to give it some different styles of angles. I'm doing a lot of brickwork here. Typically I would use a lot of the rock panels, but I want to try and use a nice combination of rock panels and also the 2x dark bluish gray and green brick. It takes a lot of pieces to build these giant mountain modules, but boy oh boy, I think they're going to really help develop the Lego city and give it just a different dynamic with, you know, more height and a different range of building rather than just buildings everywhere. And that's why I really want to expand the countryside and the mountains leading up to the amusement park and sort of working through the entire center of the Lego city. Next up, I've got to build a new mills plate here, and this is going to be on a 32x32 base plate. Just going to cover that with 16x16 plates. And continue that mountain range toward the amusement park, laying my first layer of green brick with some of the colorful stuff in behind, and just doing it layer by layer. But I'm not going to get too carried away here, just because I should probably test this before just guessing where it should end up. So rather, I move back to the long section there and start building it up so that it matches the height of the other modules. In fact, it and that corner there is going to be a little bit taller, so I'm just starting to bolster up some of that rock work. Primarily what I'm using here is 2x4 and 2x6 dark bluish gray brick, and then all that colorful stuff in behind, pretty much anything that I have in my inventory. And then once again, I'm mixing in some of those rectangular rock pieces. A lot of people don't like using those, but I like using them because they get you up so high. Like they're 10 studs wide and they're 6 bricks tall. So if you don't have a whole lot of space to work with, it's very efficient with like going vertical, if that makes sense. Sometimes it's hard for me to visualize what these modules are actually going to look like when they're placed in the Lego city, because I'm working up top here. So it's like, okay, where does that raised platform go to? Where does it need to turn the corner? Oh yeah, okay, that works out. So what I decided to do is continue to build upward there, and then I want to cap that off as well, because we already capped off the other section. I think if I cap this off, well, then I can start to visualize what this mountain is going to look like, where we can go up, and it's just going to be easier to visualize and see what's going down in this area. I can try and bridge the different modules together, get a little bit of elevation going on the top end of it, and just blend it all together and try and get the base foundation for this area looking pretty good and closer to the finish line. So of course, this is the base foundation. There's a ton of things that I need to do to get this to the actual finish line, such as piling on tons of slopes, which I'm starting to do now. Hey, does anyone want to come and help me throw like 3,000 slopes on, maybe not 3,000, but a lot of slopes on this thing? It becomes a little repetitious, but it's definitely worth it in the end. I've done just like a small chunk here, and there's still lots of slopes that need to be thrown on here to get rid of some of these smooth surfaces of the rock panels that span all the way across there. But you can see that I've decided to go with a lot of brick built stuff here, and there's some rock panels that have actually been mixed into it. That's just because I have the brick to do that, and I wanted to give it more of a unique shape, so that's why it starts over there and bulges out and then goes back in, and there's a start of a new bulge. It's going to come out there because this is going to go up against the platform, and it's going to be a platform covering, of course. We have one base plate all the way along, so if I can get this to come out and then go back in and sort of give it a wavy design, I think that would look pretty cool. And of course, we're going to be working our way toward the amusement park over there. But I think I'm at the stage where I can start dressing up this section of the mountain. It's either that or I continue to build up here, but I really should place it and have a look at it before I get too carried away with that, because as you saw, I had to rebuild this section here to make it work. This is a little bit of a right angle there, but I think this bulge, once I build it, will actually look pretty cool because it sort of curves in there. So I think that's going to be a good thing to have right there. And yeah, I don't know what to do next. Do I continue to develop this, or do I place it and continue to build more like rough draftish stuff? Do I maybe work on the water, which is going to be behind Ninjago, and have more blending into the platform and the mountains in behind that? Or do I work on, you know, dressing this up? Rough draft stuff, which feels more rewarding because of course you're getting a bigger section done, or the details on the smaller section. Both are quite time intensive, but I guess both are rewarding as well. Oh yes, I think this looks pretty cool. I love the blocky look of it at this stage. I think it's nice. You know, you see all those Lego studs and just the way that it all sort of comes together. Supported and very colorful on the backside and looking pretty good out front. I decided to do a bit more in this section here so we can see what it looks like with the slope work. Nice mix of blue, dark gray, light gray, and then of course there's the layer that's going to go on top of that with vegetation. But yeah, I also have to decide where like the ninja trail is going to go, because that ninja trail is going to be reddish brown and it's going to go up there. And of course, I'm going to have a hard time laying a ninja trail on top of slopes, so I need to decide where that's going to go before I get too far ahead of myself here as well. So I think the next thing I'm going to do is push a bunch of these down a little bit more. Sorry about that. But I'm also going to place it just to see what it looks like so I can sort of visualize the next stage. Placing it actually allowed me to see one flaw. And the flaw is actually on the other side over there, because the base plates that I built with the water are the exact size of this platform. And of course, this is the exact size of the space on the side of the platform. And when I originally covered up the platform, I built a masonry wall that came up on the side, consuming one stud. So this used to be a wall. That's why you'll see the exposed studs there. But I couldn't squeeze an additional stud in there, so that was forcing my mountain module to be misaligned by one stud. So I've got to rethink my design here and have these water plates actually overlap somehow, or just cut one stud off one of these base plates and adjust the water work. And I'll have to do that on the side as well. I think that's probably the easiest option. The reason I'd want to do it that way is because you'd see the green or blue or white base plate or whatever it may be. Or what I could do is have it just bulge out, like just brick build it out one stud and have it go on top. So you'd have like a little brick or one stud groove that's built into it. And I guess you could like do something. You could like maybe make that like a planter and have, I don't know, vegetation growing off of it. Or I could make this like not perfect and have it like, you know, coming out studs all over the place and then have it sort of bulge out and go over top. I don't know. There's lots of different ways of doing it. You can cut it, do it the unethical way, or like I mentioned there, I can just sort of finesse this to make it work. But I mean, that's very easy to fix and it's not going to impact the build or decisions that I make today. You can see when I pushed it over to accommodate that wall there, it misaligned our mountain module by one stud, which doesn't work for me. But other than that, I think everything else looks perfect. Like this lines up beautifully. I can brick build up here with like just natural boulders and vegetation and more green and green slopes and stuff. And then it's going to gradually go up. As you can see, I've started that design there. And then it's going to cover this platform as well and merge with some of the rock work that's going to be back here amongst the water. But this is bad. Like I've got to do that, I think, rather than working on laying hundreds and hundreds, maybe even thousands of slopes. I think I need to finish the rough draft there. I'm not going to do it 3.5 base plates. That's the size of my cutouts, approximately 35 inches by 35 inches, or 3.5 base plates. But I think I'm going to make it 3 base plates because you can actually see this sticks out by 4 studs. So whenever I build a module that's going to accommodate the elevated haunted mansion and roller coaster, I'll probably want that half base plate to be included in that. So I think I'm okay with just building this bulge so it comes out, probably like right out actually, because we've got this. That's going to require a big foundation. So I think if that just comes right out and we just continue to build it up so it's at the same height as this, this has to go up more and it's becoming very vertical. So maybe I need to rethink that a bit and just sort of have this turn a little bit earlier. There's lots to think about when you're building these massive modules that all fit together because one module will affect the other, but I do want to make sure that it is modular so that I can work on them individually because I don't want to haul every single one of these plates up there every single time I want it, or every single time I decide to make a change to it or decide to add slopes. But now that I know they all match up, I can just bring this one up. Then I can work on them individually, which will actually make it seem like it's more manageable because you're working on a smaller piece, not this huge project. Now this is going to be a little bit different than the previous time lapse because we're seeing it from the ground all the way to the top. So first thing I need to do is grab the 3 base plates, well 2 of them, and then merge them with the other base plate that I already started there. Just doing that with 2x2 brick and also 1x2 brick, and then it has a face of green. I use 2 different colors of 16x16 plates. We've got like that bright green and also the normal green. The bright ones are going to get covered up by the mountain, so it doesn't really matter. Those could technically be any color. Get my first 2 layers of green brick laid there, and I'm going all in with the reinforcement of this ridge here. I'm using all sorts of 2x4 bricks, and I'm putting those in behind almost like mills work, so it supports all the seams of the 2x4 bricks. And then I put some towers of 2x2s in behind that and bridge across using 2x6. I'm just building like this massive support structure in behind using so many bricks. Sometimes I try to get away with going the cheap route by not doing this, but whatever, I'm going all in on this here because I'm going to try and reduce the amount of rock panels that I'm using in the lower portion of these sections just to give it a more natural grade. But in the end, I have to use more of those rock panels to try and get up higher, specifically in the corner there where I don't have a whole lot of depth to work with. Now I'm really lucky I've got parts and parts and parts for days because of course I had the previous layout, and in the previous layout we had some massive mountain modules, and you'll see those giant drawers full of parts. And those were all from the massive mountain modules that I ripped apart not too long ago. I tried to keep those around as long as possible, but in the end I decided these just aren't going to work in this new layout. Everything has to be custom built to accommodate different layouts and different raised platforms and different heights and all that. So I may as well just rebuild these all from scratch. So all those parts that you see there come from that, and also that massive order that I placed and received in September. I actually placed the order in like March and received it in September. It took a long time to get here, but now slowly but surely I'm starting to use a lot of those parts. And all those parts that I ordered were specifically for projects like this, like giant landscaping projects. It was like 100,000 pieces or something like that. So slowly but surely I'm taking advantage of having all of those pieces and just building these giant modules, or I have to build like a bunch of trees, a bunch of vegetation, pathways, curved walls, masonry walls, just sort of everything that you would see in like this really cool landscape. But yeah, this is coming along here. You can see the height of it is matching up with the other panel that we built there. This is going to be perfect for concealing that raised platform. I think it looks great. I mean, obviously there's lots of things that we have to do to improve it even further. Just demonstrates the first stage of construction, which of course is the base layer. It's just like all the brickwork, all the rock panel work, and it's turning out quite nicely. Pretty pleased with the outcome, that's for sure. Here's what the mountain structure looks like from behind. You can see all those 2x4, 2x6, 2x8 bricks supporting all the rock work up top, so it all works out. Nice combination of the green and dark gray, and then of course we're going to add a bunch more parts to it. I'm concerned about the height in some regions. Here it still needs to go up another 5 bricks, like up top here. So I don't know what we're going to do there. Maybe just because we have a stone wall or a concrete wall in other regions, maybe there can be a 5 brick human-made concrete wall going across the top in some regions, almost like it was built there due to like safety or like landslides or whatever it may be. Maybe I could do that. Or I could just bolster this up with a ton of brick, bringing it up so that I can get that angle at a lower grade when I have to build this up 5 bricks, because I think this is already looking too flat. So I just need more depth to work with. Or I could just blow up this corner and bring it out, and then blow up this half of the wall and bring it out. But I don't think that's going to be necessary. I think there's going to be a way that we can finesse it and make it look natural or human-made once it's placed in the city. This is a huge module, and yeah, it has to be mill-splitted just for making it, it makes it easier to move, and I like the way that this is looking so far. It's pretty cool. I can't wait to see it placed in the city, so that's what I'm going to do. Now I know I go up and down the stairs a lot, and I place things in the city a lot, but to be honest with you, it's not like a huge task just to like walk these modules over. I can usually grab like 2 at a time and haul them over there. So when there's 6, it's only 3 trips up and down the stairs, which honestly doesn't take that long. So it's worth doing. Trial and error and testing and placing. This one I can even place here, so I don't got to slide it underneath the table. But yeah, it's coming along. Pretty excited. I wanted this mountain to have a unique shape. That's why I decided to bring it out here and then bring it back in and then bring it out again. And that's going to better match up with the platform that I'm going to insert right there in the amusement park to hold these up off the ground. And then I can build rock faces in front of those too and have like cues and stuff going up to the rides. I think that's going to be super neat and just a fun way to tell stories here in the city. This did come a little bit close, and this might be a little bit too square. I could once again bolster it up, or I could use inverted slopes and try and invert the rock face so it comes out a bit. But either way, I think what we've been able to, or what we were able to achieve today looks pretty cool. Like it's topped. It looks good. It actually covers those, the platform. You don't see the colorful bricks underneath now because we topped it, so that's great. And I just got a little bit more to build up there, and then we'll go through and detail it all and figure out how it's going to transition onto the platform, which actually needs to slide over a bit. I've noticed it must be just misaligned on the other side. And then how we're going to connect the rock work up here as well, which will sort of pull it all together. Once we get the swerving rock detail up there, and then the mountains. It's a big project, but I knew this Lego city would be a big project because it's a huge space and I want to do it right. And from afar, I think it looks pretty good too. I'm glad that I decided to work on that there because you could see that wood platform, and you can still see it because I've still got to build it up a bit, but I think it's more important to get that done than the detail work by the dog park there. Because if I could just get that built up a little bit more and get it built up in behind and around the roller coaster and stuff too, like I should cut that platform, get that put in there so I can almost just get this like rough draft stuff all the way through to the end and cover up that raised platform throughout the first tier all the way along. I think that would be like a huge stepping stone for this city. And I know I've got a bunch of rock work and stuff that's still pending those details, but I'm just so like convinced that I should be just focusing on like getting the structures and everything covered up. Like why not get it all looking like that and then transition into details later on, you know? Because imagine if this was all covered and looking like that. Yes, it would be a bit square and a bit blocky and a bit studdy at this point, but if it all looked like that, it would truly make this place look so cool. We got to remember that this whole area is going to be built up as well. Like I should grab those mills plates and build up like right away. That should be my next project. Build all these up, or my next day's work, and get those at the height that they're supposed to be. Because all it would require is just a whack of 2x brick. And then I could start plotting in the road, and yeah, that would be cool. Just one day at a time. But I'm really happy with the progress that we were able to make today over there by the Ninjago platform. I hope you enjoyed it, everybody. Please remember to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for some more great stuff. And as always, have yourselves a fantastic day. Bye for now.